This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so yeah, so good morning everyone. So before moving into this, uh, uh, I need to ask you guys, so which language you are comfortable with? Want to mix and match with English and Telugu, or pure English or Telugu? Which you are comfortable with? Yeah, I need to speak out, guys.
Both Telugu and English.
Yeah, and how about others?
No, sir, it's English only.
Yeah, okay. And Naresh, Hazira, and yeah, everyone try to speak out as much as possible. Okay, so yeah, so as some mixed things, so I'll try to speak as much as in English. So if there is somewhere some technical words are there and something, and I'll include Telugu as well, so that everyone will understand it precisely. So my final agenda should be that should be understanding the concept well. Okay, so okay guys, so good morning everyone, thanks for arriving to this. So might be that someone few of you have attended the previous demo session on AWS, and there we have discussed what are the things we are going to cover in the AWS, and why the cloud is so important, why it is a hotcake technology to for us to learn it. So while before going to our main AWS session, so it's necessary to learn the Linux basics. It's not mandatory but necessary, because you may skip also. Many won't prefer this. Like, okay, we'll directly skip into AWS sessions. But before going that, at least 3 to 4 days, we'll concentrate on Linux basics, because the EC2 machines will be launching on AWS Linux machines, and during some projects and during the load balancing and basic practice will be doing on Linux machines. And even in the future, when you go to some company, there is a high chance that you'll be using some sort of a Linux machine. So not in the form of a full Linux admin, but at least you should know the basics of how to use a machine. At least you should Google and do some commands in Linux. So to that extent, we'll cover the basics, like basic commands. What is the architecture of Linux? Why should we use Linux? Not too deep, not in the form of a Linux admin, but we'll just cover the basics for just 2 to 3 days this week, and then we'll directly go to our main session AWS. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so let's start it. So I don't go too deep into Linux, because this is not concentrated on Linux admin course. This is highly concentrated on cloud. So let me go through the basics. So let me quickly. So some of you know about me and some of you don't know, so I'm just covering quickly about myself. So this is Dheeraj. I work as a cloud engineer. I have 6 years of experience, and I'm experienced as a Linux admin and both solutions architect, and I have completed my certifications from AWS solutions architect and Red Hat. I'm a both RHCSA and RHCSC Red Hat certified engineer. And this is a quick intro about me. Yeah, it's a quick agenda of what we are going to learn. Origin of Linux, why should we use Linux, what is the architecture, basic commands, etc. So going very quickly. So when coming to the origin, so let's be very interactive. I want you all to be interactive. So there is nothing right, nothing wrong. So please try to be interactive so that class will be very interesting. So many confuse that many people confuse that actually there was Windows before. Even after Windows only we got Linux and Unix. And what is the difference between Unix and Linux? What is the name difference? How this came? So very quickly, Unix is one of its kind. It is the oldest OS existing, and it is developed in Unix. This Unix is developed by Ken Thompson. It is developed using C programming language. So basically, they developed this for using, playing few games, not for real usage. But later they realized that Unix is very powerful, and they have developed the operating system out of it. And right, whenever you create, well, whenever you create an operating system, మీరు ఒక ఆపరేటింగ్ సిస్టమ్ క్రియేట్ చేశారు, these big companies will come, right? We need to do the business the same way. Apple, AT&T, IBM, HP, all these Sun Microsystems, Sun Solaris, all these companies came together and say, okay, we'll a Unix flavor తీసుకొని they developed a new operating system అన్నమాట. Okay, so they created a new operating system, new flavor out of it, and they started selling it, okay, with a license. It's not open source. So then came, so this was going well, and then this guy is the father of Linux. He's still alive. So in 1991 he was studying in some university in Finland, Helsinki University. So he was a bright guy. So he thought like Unix is very powerful. Why can't we make an operating system out of it? Okay. So that is when he decided, and he on his own he developed a new kernel. So kernel is very important in Linux. It's the core. He developed a new kernel out of Unix, and he made open source out of it using the different engineers throughout the world. And then Linux is evolved. Okay, the first flavor Minix is evolved. And then the main question, we need to know why Linux, why we need to learn Linux, because you guys might be from different fields, right? Some of you will be testers, some of you will be different thing, some of you are freshers, you don't know anything about servers and computers. So you might even think this is an AWS course for the first 3 days or something. Why do we need to know Linux? Okay, so the importance of Linux is whatever the field you are in IT, it is pretty good to learn Linux, at least the basics, and you should know why Linux is very powerful. Why? Because it is the latest implementation of Unix APIs, because Unix is already very powerful and a rugged operating system, and it is Linux is open source development model. So there is no mandate that in a particular Linux flavor you need to buy the license. Okay, it's free. Open source community will solve your problems. It depends. If you are an enterprise company, you can take an enterprise license. Otherwise, no, there is no mandatory. So that is one of the greatest advantage. It supports wide variety of hardware. So what is this point refers to? That means for example, your laptop is a hardware, right? And the server is a hardware. The server has different hardwares, right? HP, Dell, different companies, different hardwares. So for Linux, there is no hardware dependency. Almost any hardware you can install this Linux flavor. Okay, on any BIOS it will start running. So it is universal. Unlike Unix, previously I have discussed, right? Unix flavors, HP Unix, AIX, IBM AIX. These Unix flavors, they run only on their own hardware. Like for example, IBM has their Unix flavor called AIX that will run only on IBM Power machines, not on other machines. So they are pretty customized, and they're, you know, that is how they maintain the corporates for money and for uniqueness. But here it runs on every hardware, and it supports many networking protocols. Yes, it almost supports every networking protocol and configuration. Yeah, okay. And one more thing to learn is multi-user and multitasking. Can someone tell me what is multi-user and multitasking? Can say anything, so I don't want any exact definition and all, so just to interact and to know how uh, at what level you are. Anyone? It is multi-user and multitasking in operating system. Come on guys, so nothing wrong. Sai Kiran, Naresh, Ajay, Shweta, Reshma.
Multi-user means two or more people, so more users.
Yeah,
Multitasking means tasking two or more apps or other softwares.
yeah, good. How about others? Please speak out. Let's try to be interactive. So it doesn't mean you need to know the correct answer and all. There is no correct answer here, because we all came here to build up the knowledge, right? So what is the point in being silent? Okay. Okay. So okay. So what do you guys think? Windows is multi-user multitasking or only multitasking? What? Windows the daily use, right, in your laptop. Is multi-user multitasking? Is it compatible to this? Yes or no?
Yes, it's multitasking.
Yeah. How about multi-user? Okay. So multitasking is fine. So the combination of multi-user and multitasking is a different story here itself. So for instance, assume we have a Windows machine, for example, a Windows server. A user called Sai Kiran is already logged in and working. He started working with the username Sai Kiran. If Naresh also have the same credentials, same username and password. So if from some other place in from some other mission, he tried to log into remote login to that server with the same username and password. What happens if two people constantly try to use same username and password? What happens? Got my point, right?
Different, yes, different username password.
Yeah. For instance, if you both use same username and password, what happens in a session? So in
Nothing
Windows,
will
what
happen. They
happens?
can open login also.
Yeah, that is in Unix. So, but what happens in Windows? Uh, there should be a unique login for each and every session. You see, for instance, from a particular room A, Naresh tried to log in with same username and password. From room B, Sai Kiran tried to log into the same server with same username and password. the latest user will take out the session. The first user session will go out. It will be closed. So that is how Windows works. But in the case of Linux, it is not like that. With the same username and password, you can log in from n number of places. There is no limit, literally, from n number of places with the same username and password, and do the multitasking, do the shell. So that is how powerful it is. So there is no restriction, literally. Okay, and yeah, so these are the main points. And apart from this, you all know Linux is very rugged. Not like no, I'm not blaming Windows here, because Windows is a great operating system. Windows has great features like Active Directory and all. Even in large corporates, we even still use them. But when you want a high performance application, for instance PUBG and all, high performance applications, there is more chances that the backend is running on Linux and cloud. Okay, that combination itself is very powerful. So yeah, it is very rugged, and the amount of the operating system getting crashed is very low. And the one more thing, the virus attacks, it is not that Linux won't get virus, but it will get, but it's very rare that a Linux operating system get corrupted due to a virus. But in the case of Windows, it is pretty easy. If you click a link, gone, your system is hacked and all your data is encrypted. So different types of data corruptions are there, like ransomware, etc. But it is very unlikely that a Linux system gets affected by a virus. It is easy to clean as well in Linux. Yeah, so that is why it is very powerful, and it is always good to know about it, and we are covering the basics of it before going to our main AWS session. Okay, yes, these are quick facts about Linux. You don't need to remember. I'm just saying, most of the supercomputers in this world are still running on Linux. All the gaming servers, streaming servers mostly work on Linux. The sites like Amazon Prime, Netflix, infotainment system is completely belonging to Linux. It's increasing. So top domain providers are still running on Linux. Android OS market, which is more than 80% today, is still running on Linux kernel. Yeah, your Android phones which you are using is running on Linux. You can go to about and see the version. You can see the kernel version there. So that is built on Linux. So most of the open source projects are running on Linux. Space programs like SpaceX, they are using Linux. There are many things, many things. All the special effect machines are built on Linux. Hollywood special effects. Yeah, it is powerful. Okay, enough about the intro. Okay, so let's know the heart of Linux very quickly. So how the basic funda works in Linux. Okay, the architecture. Okay, so in the screen you can see here, right? First, this is the hardware. Okay, so what is the hardware? Hardware is nothing but any physical machine. So for instance, when you buy a new laptop or when you buy a new server machine, it is just a metal, right? Just a piece of RAM, CPU, and a different composition of motherboard, etc. So all the things put together and is made as a hardware. Simple. So on top of the hardware, you will install an operating system or a platform, right? So in our case, we'll install Linux. So when we install Linux on a hardware, what happens? A kernel is built at first. Okay, because kernel is the main core of the Linux operating system. So it is the main thing. It is the core. It is the heart. So all the functionalities are initiated from here, kernel. It consists all the code written in the language. So kernel is very important. Okay, so whenever you install whenever you install an operating system, especially Linux, the first thing which is being interacted with the hardware is the kernel. Okay. Let me screen. Okay. Okay. The first thing is kernel. So on top of the kernel, we'll be having a piece called shell. Okay. And on top of the shell, we'll be executing the commands. So these are all the shells, different type of shells, and these are the commands which you use, different commands. Okay. So let me explain you guys the same thing in the MS Paint. Let me share my screen. So okay. So as previously I have told you, first there will be a kernel. So you don't need to remember all this. The concept is important here. That's it. Okay. Shell utilities. So this utilities can be anything, like the commands you execute in the machine, the programs you install in the operating system, everything. So these are the different utilities on the top end. So in the Linux, you will be having a console, right? A console to work where you enter all the commands, right? A console. Okay. So there will be console. You will be entering all the commands here. For instance, ls, cd, cat, move, copy, different commands will be there. Installing an application, debugging an application, all those things you work from the console. Okay. So for instance, you'll run a command called ls. Okay, ls, and the operating system will show you some output. Okay. So whenever it is showing output, that is fine. So generally what people will do, they will say, okay, please use the command ls, please use the command touch. That is fine. But before going that, you need to know, right, how that is working in the backend. So that is what it explains here in the architecture. Okay. So assume in the console you enter the command called ls. So that means to list the files. Okay, to list the files in the directory. So it is entered here. I'm explaining in the backend like a diagram. So this is the console. Okay. What happens in the utility section? For instance, you're using this ls command. So you'll get an output here, right? Some output. Okay. After entering the command, you'll get some output. So from where this output is getting fetched from? Where is it getting fetched from? We'll see here how it is done. So first what happens is, whenever you enter a command called ls, it is being entered into the shell. First it is entered into the shell. So generally Linux has a shell called bash. Okay. We'll enter this ls command into shell called bash. Okay, this is a shell. So what the shell does is, it is a mediator. Okay, it is a mediator in our raw language, but technically we should call it as a interpreter. Okay, the shell is an interpreter is nothing but a mediator. So the shell acts as a mediator between kernel, that means the operating system of Linux, and user. So as a user, we enter the command, right? That can be anything, any operation. There are thousands of commands, thousands of operations in Linux. So whenever we enter a command, so whenever you give a functionality, so what happens is it will just try to start interaction with shell. Okay, so this what the shell do? Okay, it will do like this. Okay, hey kernel, the user has entered a command called ls. Okay, entered a command called ls. So he's trying to he's trying to have some functionality, have some output. He's expecting something. So why this mediator is required? You might get a doubt, right? Okay, directly you can interact with shell, right? Why again this mediator? Why all this funda? Because kernel is os, which kernel is nothing but the os which understand the language in only zeros and ones, right? This is a basic, right? Operating system don't know the human language. It understands things in zeros and ones, and we cannot do everything in zeros and ones. So that doesn't make any sense, right? We can't work. It's very difficult. So what this shell does is it will take the command in user readable format like ls or something, and it will convert this into zeros and ones and communicate with kernel. And it will tell the kernel, hey, in zeros and ones it will tell, okay, this guy is speaking some language, and to your language I'm converting you, and he's asking something. And what does this kernel does is it will give the reply. Okay, this is the output which I'm getting. It can be either an error or it can be an output. It will give to shell. And what the shell does, again, this output is again given by kernel in zeros and ones because it don't know human language. This shell will interpret it and it will convert it to the human readable output format, to human readable output slash format. And this is what we'll be getting in this console output here, in this console output. Okay, this is what the final output is. This is the final human readable output, and this kernel acts as a interpreter or mediator. Okay, so guys, have any doubt on this? So no need to mug up this. Just if you understand the concept, let me know. Otherwise I'll just quickly explain again, because if you know this, it is pretty useful for you guys throughout your IT career. It's not like for this particular course. This is a pretty good topic to know. You guys got this, or can I move forward, or what do you say? Clear in this point?
Yeah, clear.
Yeah, how about others?
That's clear.
Okay, so I can see 3 other people: Hazira, Reshma, Sweta. How about you guys? It's no problem if you don't understand. I'll just quickly explain in 2 minutes. No problem. I want everyone to know the concept before going into the main stuff.
So you said shell is a mediator or interpreter, but you mark kernel is a mediator or interpreter.
No, I see. Picture may be anything. Ignore the picture, because to explain you, I am
No,
roughly.
you said
No,
in the end also, sir. And then you said the
no,
same
no,
thing, that
no,
kernel is a mediator or
no, no.
interpreter.
Kernel is not a mediator. Maybe I misspelled it. So kernel is not at all a mediator. Shell is a mediator
Okay.
slash interpreter. So kernel is just it's nothing but an operating system, core of an operating system. So it only understands zeros and ones. So what shell does is it converts our language to kernel's language, and kernel's output our language, and it transfers the data to and fro between user and operating system. So in the human readable format, we will be giving the input and getting the output. So okay, if some of you don't get it straight away, No problem. We'll get into the main. I'll give you some links from tomorrow. We'll start working on the console only, Linux console, starting from basic commands. There I'll explain you in live, like how things work, how do these commands interact, and on what shell we are working. There are different shells, like, because there will be different mediators, right, in real life. Like some may know different languages, in the same way shells, we are also having different types of shells in Linux. So bash is a generic shell we use. It's called bash. We'll learn in bash only. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'm moving to other things. So yeah, in the second diagram you can see, right? You can see my screen, right? So the same thing I have explained in this manner here. You can see. So on top of the hardware is nothing but the RAM, CPU, all the physical things. When the OS is installed, kernel will be the base. It will be in the core. So whenever a user or an application or an utility, this, when we enter a command or some functionality is going on, it will interact with shell, go to kernel, and kernel will give the output. See, the flow is like this, as I told you. So shell will be the mediator between kernel and user. User is nothing but the applications which we use. So this is how it works. And there are different file systems in Linux. Okay, so these file systems are nothing but it's like a drives or the paths, basic default paths. So whenever you install an operating system in Windows, so for instance in your laptop, you can go and see, right after the installation you will get a C drive, basic, and in the C drive you get different folders, right? Documents, programs, system 32 drivers, etc., right? In the same way, when you by default install the Linux operating system, you will get all these structures. Okay, so similar to C slash. So whenever you install an operating system, C is the top, right? Under C only, under C drive only, all the programs, all the drivers, all the installed softwares. So if you install in that path, so all the basic drivers will be present under C. In the same way, here we call it as slash, the forward slash. Okay, the slash is the, you remember it throughout your journey, IT journey. This is important. If you come to Linux, forward slash is like top level directory. It is like the parent. This slash is the parent directory. It is everything. Okay, see here, this slash is the top level directory, and under this slash only everything will be present in Linux. Okay, there are different default folders will be created. I'll explain you quickly, and I'll show you practically in the console from tomorrow. So for now, you just understand the concept today, and I'll show you live in the console tomorrow, and I'll give you some links. So using that links, parallelly you can also execute these commands parallelly. Okay, so slash is the top level directory, it is the parent, it is the root. So each and everything you install in a Linux operating system or Unix operating system comes under this slash. Everything will be coming under this slash. And then one more default thing will be created called slash root. In Windows you'll have an admin user, right? By default you have a most privileged user called administrator, right? So whenever you install an operating system, any operating system, you need some administrator user. Why? Because you need to do some admin activities, right? Some super user activities. So to control others, to control the permissions of others. So all those, for all the stuff, you need a super user called In Windows, that super user is called administrator. In Linux, that particular super user is called root user. Okay, root user. So he is a superior personality when it comes to Linux operating system. He can do anything in the operating system. He can control all other users. Okay, so for that particular user there should be some home, right? So all the things he will do, he should have some home, right? So slash root is the home for default home for that root user. Okay, in the same way the name itself suggests you don't need to mug up or remember. So just look at the names slash home. So in the name itself it is there, it is a home for someone. For who? It is a home for other users. Who are other users apart from the super user root? Okay, apart from the super user root, the slash home is the home for other users. So for instance, assume you have different users. For instance, by default there is only root user. I have a requirement to create a new user called Naresh, Sweta, Hazira, Reshma, different users, Sai Kiran. So for instance, I have created a new user Sweta. Okay, so when I created a new user Sweta, by default, when that user gets logged in, I'll give username a credential to Sweta and I'll say, okay, this is your username and password. As an admin user, I have created your credentials. You log in from the shell. You will log in from the console. What she will do? She will use that username and password, try to log into the mission, Linux mission. What happens when you log in? By default, when a user other than root logs in, you will be placed in this directory slash home slash your name slash Sweta. There you will be logged in. Okay. In similar way to Windows desktop, you will be having your own desktop in Linux. Okay. And then slash boot. Okay. And then slash boot. So what is slash boot? This boot contains all the bootable files. So whenever an operating system gets started, it needs to get some boot files, right? So grub, how to boot, how to fetch the disks, so which disk to fit, and which disks to pick in the order in which we want. So all those stuff will be present in boot. So you don't worry about this particular folder. So whenever we are going through this file system hierarchy, I will let you know. So this is important, try to remember. So in that case, slash root and home, you just remember, and slash boot, just know that this it contains boot files. You don't need to remember and go and do some operations there. So these operations are done by high level Linux core Linux admins for troubleshooting and stuff. Generally OS manages this boot. We don't do anything in this slash boot. So just, it's not daily, you don't interact with this. Just remember that it contains all the OS related boot files. And then slash etc, you can see on my screen, right? Slash etc. So this is important again. It contains all the configuration files, all. So for instance, in your Linux operating system, tomorrow as a cloud admin or something, you have installed a web server. Okay, HTTP web server, and you need to do some configuration. Okay, by default each and every configuration will be present under slash etc directory. Every configuration, each and every configuration by default goes under slash etc. Okay, you need to do some other stuff, you have installed some other software, again under slash etc. You have installed a DNS server. Okay, that also will be under slash etc. Got my point, right? So blindly you can say that even in your interview or something, you won't, it is not your scope. For instance, for a Linux guy gets an interview, he'll be asked, I want to know some configuration of some blah blah whatever. By default, the first thing you need to have in your mind is Linux. Every by default, so you can customize, but by default all the customizations, the configurations, you can do through slash etc. Just remember this. Okay, I'll practically show you guys all these folders and the contents of it. Okay. Then /usr. So these are the default things. You don't remember. Just to get you an idea, I'm telling you this. /usr. Usr is by default, if you install any softwares, the installation by default will be happening on /usr. So for instance, in Windows, what is the place where the software gets installed by default? Program files, right? See, program files. The similar way, since under /usr, the applications will get installed, and /op it is also same, but some third-party softwares will get installed under /opt. That's optional instead of /usr. Both are same. Majority will be installing under /usr, and some will be installing under /opt. This is also similar to C program files in Windows. You can see in your laptop also. C program files and /bin. So whenever you execute any command, so what is that command? So that command is nothing but a collection of a program, right? A functionality, right? So for instance, you're writing a command called touch or cat in Windows, or say, I mean in Linux, or using some dir command in Windows. What happens? That command is a collection of programs, right? So those are called binary files, executable binary files. So all the commands you run, okay, the source code for that commands will be present under /bin, because you don't interact with it, but you need to know it. That is why I want you to know this. In the same way, sbin, all the administrator commands, okay, all the administrator commands or the high level commands or the super user commands will be present under /sbin. Okay. Then /dev, the name itself says dev means devices. So what are the different
Excuse me, sir, I can't hear your voice. It's not audible.
Yeah, 1 minute, please. I'm going to be a technical issue. 1 minute. Wait a minute. Turner going to be attend again. Technical issue.
Hello, am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's clear now. Uh,
Now it's clear.
okay, some sort of issue with my headset. Okay, let me share it. So from from what time I'm not audible? Like maybe 5 minutes or 10 minutes. I need to repeat those things. Okay, I'll try to reshare it. I'll try to share it now.
I'm sorry for that. Okay, so previously I was telling yeah, previously I was telling about this configuration files, different configuration files which are present. So you just don't need to remember all this, just need to know the concept how operating system is working. So similar to the Linux Windows file system hierarchy, so Linux also have its own hierarchy. So in the so similar to Windows, for example, in Windows it's like C Windows, C admin, C program files, different things will be there, right? You can right away go to your laptop and see, go to the C folder and see different things, C system 32 driver, C Windows, etc. So in the same way you will have different folders. So I think this page you have no audio issues till this page. I'll go from here. So /usr. So for instance, in Windows, if you try to install an application, so by default where it goes and install, it goes to C program files and get installed, right? So in the same way, in Linux or Unix, /usr is a place where all the software will be installed, the application core will be installed in, okay, the root folder of an application. In the same way, the OPT, the name itself says optional. The third party softwares, it's an optional place where the other softwares will be installed. So both these are for same purpose, USR and OPT. Okay. And then comes the bin. So what is the bin? What is binary files? So binary files, if you go to the core, you are executing a command in an operating system, right? So people will blindly go, okay, I'll type ls will give some output. So what is the background, what is happening there? So that ls is nothing but a chunk of instructions, right? In chunk of programming, right? Small program, right? So that is when it does something for us. So that core of the binary, that particular command will be present under /bin. Okay, all the basic commands. And sbin, it is the place where the super user commands are the powerful commands like delete it and change modification for other users. All the administrative commands will be present under /sbin. Okay, so I'm again stressing you guys that it is not mandatory for you guys to remember all these things. Okay, there is no mandatory to remember this, but you should have some idea. Okay, for instance, tomorrow you have installed some software. Okay, you need there is a question for you. Okay, go to the configuration file. You don't know, right? So by default you can go to /etc because you have some idea now. You don't need to remember, just have a conceptual idea. So for instance, there is some command which is not working. So how do you troubleshoot as an admin? If you are an admin, okay, it's not in our case, I'm just letting you know. We'll go to /bin. Okay, so in the same way, you have hard disk, right? Similar to Windows, you'll have hard drives in Linux as well. The pen drives, CD-ROMs, everything will be present for Linux also. Okay, so for the Linux operating system, /dev is the folder where all the device files, okay, dev, the name itself says dev means device files, will be present under /dev. Okay, and this one I'm stressing this out, remember this. Okay, this dev has been this, you just need to know, no need to remember because OS will maintain this. But this /var, very important, /var, the name itself says var means variable files, that means they keep on changing. Okay, what are the variable files in an operating system which keep on changing? Log files, right? So whenever do an operation, whenever do some operation, the files which keep on changing are these variable files, these log files. So for instance, a user gets logged in, he enters a wrong password, or some application gets crashed. So how do you troubleshoot? How do an admin, Linux admin troubleshoots? He will go to the /var folder on the log folder and see the logs for different stuff, different applications. So whether the error is related to OS or whether the error is related to Apache application, okay, depending on what, he will go to that particular destination and verify those logs and try to find out the error. So that is why this var folder is important. Just remember in your mind var. And mnt is also called as default mount point folder. It is a dummy folder. There is not much importance to this. Okay, it's just a dummy folder. You can use it. And slash media, as the name itself suggests, it contains the CD-ROM, pen drive, all the things you connect right to your server or your laptop. When you connect, they will be showed under the slash media folder and slash lib. So most of you boys might know this. The boys who play most of the games like racing games, simulation games in Windows. Whenever you install a game, the major error you'll be throwing is DLL file is missing. Please place the file. I think many of you would have experiences this, right? Well, when playing games like NFS and all. So these DLL files are the core files which will interact with the operating system. Okay, they should be present so that the drivers of the machine and the hardware should respond well. In the same way to the Windows DLL files, Linux files are called SO files, shared object files. Okay, these are important for interacting with our Linux operating system. Okay, the drivers, the kernel. So all these interactions will be happening to these DLLs or SO files, shared object files. So these SO files are present under slash lib, the library file. Okay, I'm just giving a quick overview again in a 1 minute. Slash, remember this, it's a top level directory. Everything under Linux is installed under this directory. Okay, everything blindly you can say everything under Linux is installed under slash // okay, that is why see slash root, that means under slash only this root, slash home under slash only this home, slash home slash username. Okay, everything under slash root, it is a home for the super user account, root account, slash home, so home for the normal users. Okay, for instance, I create a user called Sai Kiran. He will be present under slash home under Linux. Slash, okay, remember these three. This you don't need to remember. Slash boot contains bootable files. OS will take care. etc contains all the configuration files. Whenever you're configuring an application, all the files will be present under slash etc. Remember this. etc means configuration. USR and OPT, all the applications, softwares you install will be present under USR. Similar to the C program files in Windows, same, you can relate to both. Remember these two. Bin, you don't need to remember. SBin, you don't need to remember. OS will take care, but it contains all the commands you run. Okay, they will be present under these two directories. Dev, you don't manage it. OS will manage for you, but for troubleshooting, you should know under dev, all the hardware like C drive, the drives you connect, right? External drives, all those things will be present under dev. Var, very important. Var contains all the log files, all the variable files, which is used for troubleshooting. If you get some error, so where do we go? So you should know some hint, right? What is happening with your OS? You directly straight away go to log files and see for any errors and troubleshoot those errors. Done. Next, mnt dummy. It's a default empty directory. You can ignore it. Media name itself says media contains CD-ROM, pen drive, different external drives, external devices. Either they come under dev or media. Lib contains all the shared object files similar to the DLL files. These are required for our drivers to work properly with our application. Okay, this is a quick intro of how file systems work in Linux. Even if you are not sure, like confused, like okay, theoretically you are fine, what is happening in the background, don't worry, we'll practically go through the command line and execute each and everything and show you practically, and I'll give you some links, simulators, where you can also execute parallelly with me and see the output yourself and ask your doubts. Okay, and this architecture, as I told you, I'll explain you practically tomorrow how things work, what is a console, where the users work. Okay. So yeah, we come to the end of today. So what is the agenda of tomorrow? We'll see everything we discussed today practically tomorrow. And also apart from this, okay, apart from this, we'll be discussing the essential Linux commands which we need to know before going to our main AWS section. Okay, I won't take much time. Generally Linux administration takes around 35 days completely, but we don't do all those things. We'll only concentrate on most essential basic things. We'll concentrate on our commands, like basic commands you need to know before jumping as an AWS engineer. Pretty basic you should know. So those things we'll discuss in quick, maybe in next quick 3 sessions we should be able to cover the basics, and we'll do hands-on those basics parallelly with me. You will be also doing, and we'll be discussing the doubts. Then we'll jump into our main AWS section. Okay. So for the guys who didn't attended the AWS demo session, so meanwhile these 3 days of Linux session, before we're jumping into the main AWS session, there will be again a new demo today 8:30 p.m. IST. If you guys are interested, you can join us at the demo who didn't attend the previous AWS demo. Okay. And the one thing I want to know from you guys is, because you have spent your time, okay, you have spent your time and come here, your precious time, and I genuinely want to know your feedback, like am I going too slow, or the speed is fine, or do I need my language to change from English to Telugu constantly, or constant English is fine. So I need a lot of input from you guys. So this is mandate from you. So that is when see, whatever I tell you, that is not the point. The whatever the stuff you understand from me, whatever the concept you understand from me, that is important for both you and me. Okay. So please provide your feedback one by one. I'll go with Naresh. No problem. You can share everything. Yeah, am I speed, am I slow, or speed is fine, or can I lower my pace, or do I need to change my language constantly to English, Telugu, or mix and match is fine, or a constant language is fine. Just give me your outputs one by one. Naresh.
If you don't mind, can you explain to both in Telugu some words?
Thank you, Naresh. Great. I'll note down. I'll definitely do it, because everyone is important here. I'll do
Yes,
that.
yes,
I'll
yes.
mix with Telugu also. Okay. I'll mix both
So
Telugu
no,
and English.
nobody not listen English also. Some
Yeah.
words also not. Maybe that's.
Yeah, Naresh. Thank you. I understand it. Great. I'll do that, Naresh. I'll do that. Yeah. And how about Hazira? What is your feedback on this? Uh, the wordings, the pace. Okay. Sweta.
Yes, sir, the speed is fine, but I really don't understand Telugu, sir, because I'm from
Okay.
Karnataka. I know only
Okay.
English, Hindi, and Kannada.
Yeah. I'll keep in mind all this, and I'll try to cover both languages. Like uh, I'll tell it sentence in English, and whenever I find it is a bit harsh or too much of technical thing, I'll cover both. No problem. I'll cover everyone. English, Hindi, Telugu. Then Sai Kiran.
You're very good, bro.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Then Hazira is not responding, and some other user, I don't know, administrator, 2 users are there. I don't know. If you enter with your name, that is fine.
It's fine. Everything is fine.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you,
Maybe
everyone. Yeah.
you should take some examples to explain it. Is it helpful to
Yeah.
understand?
Yeah, you're very correct. This is just like a demo of the Linux session. I'll tomorrow each and everything I'll explain, and parallelly I'll get you the consoles. You will also execute with me and understand. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
Great.
these recordings will available to us.
Yeah, you can contact admin Rohit, and he'll let you know the details about those. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, he will let you know.
Okay.
And thank you, guys. I have noted all your feedback, and I'll try to cover all those things, because it's not that how I tell is important. It's about how you understand is important. I'll keep in mind all the points you told me. I'll maintain this pace and mix and match Telugu, English, and Hindi, or Telugu, English at least, and I'll make sure you understand this. From tomorrow, we'll do it practically on the console, and in next 3 days, quickly we'll complete the basics, or 3 to 4 days. Okay, this week. Thank you. Thank you for your precious time, and bye bye.